Very quickly, I know we can address poverty. I know racism, you know, some of us blame the president for creating a racist, more racially divided society. And something is wrong because I can't quite figure out where there's a communications flaw. The president has done some good things, and the president has done some things that are not so good. All presidents do. But at the heart of what needs to happen, it really is when you start off with a scenario where the elected officials of one party are determined to make sure that you're not successful when you're elected. If you remember when the president was elected, the first thing that the leadership of the opposite party said is, we're going to do all we can to make sure you are not successful. As opposed to, we're going to do, when we agree with you, we will be supportive. When we don't agree with you, we're going to fight like hell. That's what should have been the answer, as opposed to, we're going to do everything we can to make you unsuccessful. How do you think that sounds to the minds of a young person who is looking at the president called the president of the United States? Not the president of one ethnic group, not the president of one particular, yes, he happens to be in this context a Democrat, but before him there was a Republican, and before that, let's see, it was a Democrat. I mean, it goes back and forth. My point is, it's not about trying to make a president not be successful. At least you shouldn't, maybe you shouldn't say that. Maybe you can work to do that if that's what your party wants to do. But we got to figure out, how do we work through these complicated issues in America to make America greater for Americans and for us to help provide leadership in the world? Because that's who we are. And stop bickering over little petty issues. Now, I talked about being obsessed with guns. I got to say something about guns, because even if you need a gun, why do we need assault weapons? I mean, let's say you're a hunter. And, I mean, you know, these guns shoot hundreds of rounds in less than a minute. I mean, hundreds. I mean, even if you're a hunter, it's not even fair to the deer. I mean, you got some, I mean, how is that sport? Where's your skill? I mean, I don't get it. But we got to get more gunned up because we're afraid. We're afraid. And I've often heard people say that fear and God cannot inhabit the same space. So do you not believe in God? You know, it's all right. And that's fine if you say, well, you know, I definitely believe in God, but I'm going to have my pistol just in case. That's fine if you believe that. That's your prerogative. I'm not saying, I just want us to think about this more responsibly. To think about, do we really want to have schools full of guns? Do we really want to? I mean, our children to be around guns. Anything could happen. A child could get a gun. In certain areas, certain states, and maybe even here in Kentucky, I know the teachers now can bring guns to school. And, you know, I was somewhere in Utah just the other day. I think I saw where they voted on some school to be able to bring guns in the middle of somewhere because they were so afraid that somebody was going. First of all, it's too cold. Ain't nobody going to come way out there to get you. But nevertheless, if that's what you need, okay. I just say we're better than that. I mean, my dad taught the ethic of love. My mom taught that. Dad talked about many levels of love. He talked about utilitarian love as the lowest level. We don't need to embrace that. You love someone as long as you can use them. But he also talked about the extreme, which is the highest level, agape love, a love that seeks nothing in return. You love someone if they're old. You love them if they're young. You love them if they're rich. You love them if they're poor. You love them if they're black. You love them if they're white. You love them if they're Native American. You love them if they're Hispanic or Latino American. You love them if they're Asian. You love them if they're African. You love them because God calls you to do that. That's the kind of love we need in America. When we can demonstrate that, we will become a much better nation. Dad used to say, in life you must find out what your calling is. And when you find that calling, you must do your job well. You must do your job so well that the living, the dead, or the unborn could do that job no better. He went on to say, even in life, if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, why, go on and sweep streets like Michelangelo carved marble. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets like Raphael painted pictures. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heavens and earth would have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper that did his job well. And the historian Douglas Malloch captured it another way by saying, why, if you cannot be a pine on the top of the hill, just be a shrub in the valley. But be the best little shrub on the side of the road. Be a bush if you cannot be a tree. If you cannot be a highway, just be a trail. If you cannot be the sun, just be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. You've just got to be the best of what you are. That's what our challenge is, becoming our best. And guess what? We can achieve it. How do I know that? Because when I was a child, my mom took me to her undergraduate institution. That institution was Antioch College. And on that college, there was a statue of the educator Horace Mann. And under that statue was an inscription. And it said, be ashamed to die until you won a victory for humanity. I said, my God, that is very powerful. I was like 14 years old. Be ashamed to die until you've won a victory for humanity. I said, well, how do you do that? And I started thinking about it. I said, you know, we can win victories in our neighborhood. We can win victories in our school. Some of us will win victories in our places of worship. Some may win victories in our city. Some may win victories in our state, and some may win victories in our nation, and some, better yet, may win victories in our world. But what those words basically mean are, be ashamed to die until you've done a little something to make the world in which we all must live a little better than it was when you arrived. Thank you very much, and may God bless each of you always.